Hi everyone, today is probably not the best day to make a video because I'm unwell and my nose and my throat, they're pretty clogged, and therefore my voice might sound a bit nosy, and on top of that I ended up wounding my face, as you can see here, by dropping the phone on my face while trying to switch off the alarm in the morning yesterday. And but then hey, I feel like the belief that we would ever have a perfect moment in life is a myth altogether. So it's been a while that I've made a video, and therefore I thought I'll make a video today because today I'm very happy. And the reason I'm very happy is because I finally did my laundry. Um, just to make it clear that I do wash my clothes every week. It's just that I haven't been ironing my clothes. I have not been ironing my clothes since October, and it had got to the point where I could see a huge pile, almost a mountain of clothes piled at the corner of my room. And I was pretending as though it did not exist. But deep down, I knew how much it bothered me because I'm someone who struggles with OCD. So, you guys who struggle with OCD would be able to relate to where I was coming from. But the reality is that the last 6 months have been so hard with me dealing with my own set of struggles that I was going through that I could barely gather energy to do much. I was so not myself over the last 6 months, and laundry, as in ironing of clothes, wasn't my topmost priority. And if I did have the money, I would probably not even bother washing my clothes. I'd probably discard my clothes and keep buying new clothes every day. Uh, but I didn't have the luxury to do so, so I had to wash my clothes every week, I guess. But it's been hard in a way that it wasn't as bad as I wouldn't say that I was depressed because I have been through that state of depression where I've had thoughts of killing myself. So thankfully, it wasn't that bad, but it was still a very different experience for me in terms of what I was going through was something that my logical mind could not rationalize. And this was also one of the first instances where I finally decided to consult a therapist to get some external help to help me with this healing. But in a way, I also did not know how to communicate to the therapist of certain things that I was experiencing, which was more on the spiritual side of things rather than something that my brain could logically comprehend and rationalize, and therefore I could describe what I was going through. Anyway, I have finally found some answers for myself, which I feel very grateful for, but I'm still in the process of coming to terms with this entire spiritual experience that I've had because I've never been through something like that before. Maybe one day, once I finally come to terms with everything that I've been through, I'll make a different video about it. But today's video is about laundry. So, as I said, there was this big clutter, a big mountain of clothes right at the corner of my room, and which I pretended did not exist, but it was very much there. And every single morning that I would wake up, it would annoy me, but I was, deprioritizing it because of the reasons that I already explained. But it got to the point that it started affecting me so much that I'm glad that I finally took out the time today to just clean up that mess and declutter. And it took me a good 3.5 hours to go through that entire pile of clothes, to take one stuff at a time, check the fabric, and change the setting of the iron to suit the fabric so that I don't destroy it. And finally, I got it done one step at a time. And while I was, doing the task that I need to do, I was quite bored and I was reflecting on my thoughts. And the thought that came to my head was, when it comes to healing in general, a lot of us, what we do is instantly try and distract ourselves by relying on external things such as friends, family, or external activities or some other sources of addiction to take our mind off the things that are bothering us. And by doing so, while it may act as a temporary way of giving us the relief that we seek, but what we forget is at the end of the day, we are not dealing with the situation, and the situation is very much there. And the moment we run out of ways to distract ourselves, it's gonna come back and bite us, and it does. And it triggers us. So it's really important that when it comes to personal healing, to take out the time that it takes to actually look into that situation for what it is and understand what in that situation is actually triggering us, and to understand the emotions behind why we are getting triggered by that situation, and to to make peace with it, as in order to like go to the other side of the healing process. Otherwise, at the end of the day, we can distract ourselves, pretend that it doesn't exist, but it's very much there, and it's gonna come back to us and haunt us in some way or the other. The other thing that I realized is that many a times when it comes to certain situations or people doing certain things that trigger us, it's usually less about that situation or that person, but more to do with some of our own unhealed inner child wounds that we have not addressed in our hearts for a while. And it's very much to do with the way we were raised, the kind of experiences we had been through as a kid that has shaped our belief system. Because the moment we find situations that usually trigger us are the ones that make us question our belief system. And when we find our own belief system, something that we have relied on throughout our life to get us to the point that we are today, being challenged, instead of having an open mind and getting a new perspective towards life, we immediately become threatened and defensive, and we try to have a closed mind and blame that situation, rather than taking out that time that it takes to look inwards and really understand what about that situation is triggering us. Like, for example, the entire reason why I get bothered with clutter, and most people who know me well would agree to the fact that I'm quite organized, and I usually like to iron my clothes on a weekly basis. The reason I get triggered is because of my mum, who was very much of a cleanliness freak, and every time that I saw her was with a broomstick and dustpan all the time, and cleaning and cleaning and cleaning. And as a kid, she also like programmed me to make sure that I keep the space around me clean. Like, my study room was always clean, with my books organized, my bags and stuff were organized, my clothes were organized as well. And because I was raised in an environment which was quite clutter free, the moment I live in an environment that has clutter around me, it triggers me. But had it been a different environment that I was raised in, probably I wouldn't be as much triggered. And we could argue that, logically speaking, that a clean and a tidy way is a better way of living life. But what we also need to understand is it's not our place to form a judgment or to form an opinion about a situation or about an external person causing us or triggering us, and project our um, judgments onto that other person. It's definitely not our place to do so. We have to be respectful of the fact that that other person has to go through their own set of experiences and their own journey to come up with their own understanding as to what they perceive as right or wrong based on their own state of mind. It's not our place to be projecting our judgments onto others and playing the blame game. What is within our control is how we choose to respond to that situation. And there are usually two ways. One way is, if we know that, understand that this is the reason why we are getting triggered, but at the end of the day, our belief system is the right way to live our life, we just, peacefully distance ourselves out of that situation. Or if we can't distance ourselves out of the situation, and it's something that we have to deal with on a daily basis. What we need to do is then try and program our mind to come to acceptance of the situation for what it is, rather than trying to, let our ego get the best out of it and portray and project judgments onto the situation and to others and try to change the external environment around us, which is either way outside of our control. Um, and in a way, trying to control situations that are outside of our control is only going to affect us in the worst possible way by causing unnecessary anxiety and stress within us, which is not good for our own well being either. So, those were the thoughts that were coming into my mind as I was doing my laundry, and I'm so glad that I'm 95% there. The reason the 5% is still remaining is because towards the end I got impatient and I decided to just chuck my undies and my socks and my towels and all in the drawer. I'll deal with that next week. It's not going to be as bad because, as I said, 95% of the work is done. But yeah, like I was reflecting on these thoughts while I was ironing my clothes, and I thought I'll share it with all of you. Hopefully, it helps some of you in some way or the other. Today is Saturday night, and I had plans to watch a Bollywood movie today, which I am not able to because I'm unwell. So, I'm gonna watch one of my all time favorite movies, which is A Walk to Remember. It's a romantic movie, and it's a movie that was recommended by my first boyfriend. And I'm pretty much an old school, traditional, hopeless romantic girl. Even till this day, I believe in the concept of soulmates and twin flame. Back in the days, I used to be like, I'm a one man woman. But I thought, like, life happened to me, and I thought I'll have a more realistic perspective towards life. And now I'm like one man woman at a time. But that's a movie that I really love because I truly would love to live a love story like that of that movie. Not the way it ends, but you get my point. The love, that intensity of love that is in that movie is something that I would love to live in my life, and I hope I'm lucky enough to live that in this lifetime, because in today's world, unfortunately, finding a love like that is not as common, I guess, but it's not impossible either. I really love that song from the movie because I know back when I was 16 and I had first watched that movie, I would often go on holidays to the beach, and I would be sitting next to the beach at night, hearing the sound of the waves and getting lost in the stars up there. And I would be singing that song. I think it was in places no one will find all your feelings so deep inside. Was then that I realized that forever was in your eyes. The moment I saw you cry. I'm not singing that well. I'm not a good singer, and then my throat is totally gone. But I really love that song, and I'll go and watch the movie. Have a wonderful Saturday night, everyone. Good night. Bye.